Hey guys, welcome back to RetroActive.
Woo! The only podcast where... Do you want me to say that again? I had a very important thing to say about balls, but we'll leave that for next time.
Okay, next time.
But yeah, here on RetroActive,
we're just going to start off talking about balls, okay?
Yeah,
all right, man.
But we also have other things to talk about here on the show.
Yeah?
A lot of it will have to do with things in the past.
Yes.
As you may have heard before. And what better way to start off the show with something that's 20 years old today?
Ooh, 20 years old. That puts us, right back in good old 1996? Damn, that was a good year.
I'm not talking about Independence Day.
Well, that was 95, wasn't it? Or was
it
it
96?
Okay.
I'm not talking about, what was it, X-Files, other stuff.
Original
basically
X-Files.
Everything that they're rebooting this year, I'm not talking about.
That's crazy now that we bring that up. That's a lot of stuff that they are bringing back 20 years now. But what did you want to talk about today, Joey?
We're going to be talking about Pokemon.
Ooh, I love Pokemon. All right, I did.
Not anymore.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike it now or anything, but, I was back.
Okay, well, it's not about whether or not you like it. It's the fact that it's back.
It's back.
And it's 20 years later. They're re-releasing the original Red and Blue for 3DS
and Yellow.
Yeah,
Don't
today.
forget Yellow. Oh, is that today?
Yes, it is today.
Ooh, yeah, on the Nintendo eShop.
I bought a new charger for my 3DS because I lost my old one just for this.
Just for this? Which one are you going to pick up?
Oh, I'm really not sure.
Yeah, it's still the debate, right?
I know.
Still the debate. What to get?
It is 20 years later.
Especially now that there's like the three of them instead of just having the original Red and Blue. Then now there's Yellow.
Oh yeah, there's Yellow. Okay,
yeah, the Pikachu.
I've never played Yellow.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I mean,
because you have to deal with Pikachu and all
he follows
that
you
crud.
around and everything.
Yeah, but you have to keep him in your party, otherwise he gets sad.
Really?
I'm not even gonna bother with anything.
Ugh.
But anyway, so one thing I want to talk about with this re-release 20 years later on its anniversary is how the phenomenon of Pokemon has really stayed strong throughout 2 decades worth of games.
It's really never gone anywhere. It's like it's funny that you said earlier just now that it's back, it's coming back, but really Pokemon the originals, but Pokemon never really went anywhere. It's like that's one of the few game series that's remained super strong, and like every game sells 1 million copies or so, or a couple million copies around the world. Like every generation.
In all fairness, it's not the only game that's lasted 20 years. There's plenty of franchises that were around in 1996 that are still around today, like Mario, Metal Gear Solid, all these other ones.
Yeah, totally.
But the special thing about Pokemon is that it never really changed that much.
Yeah, no, that's true. I saw that most clearly with the late, or I guess it's not the latest one anymore, but
Black and White,
X and Y actually.
X and Y.
So I hadn't played Pokemon since the original Gold and Silver, back like the original Generation 2,
2000.
Yeah, like back in it 2000?
It was 2000.
Oh wow, man, even that feels like not that. It doesn't sound like that long ago, but it feels a lot longer ago than that.
We were still playing it in middle school. Think about that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I hadn't played a Pokemon game since then. I really had not. I did not get a Game Boy Advance or any of those other systems that came after. And so I didn't touch Pokemon until like X and Y. So I went out and I bought Pokemon X for my 3DS, and I was surprised actually at just how much the same it was. Like in terms of like the mechanics and the formula, like the story even. It was like even the story wasn't all that different.
You're just a kid. You meet a professor, he gives you a Pokemon, you go on the journey to, I don't know, what is it, save the world?
I mean, you're not really tasked with that, but you wind up doing it anyway.
Wasn't there something in Black and White where they started tackling the idea of there was a group, an activist group, kind of like PETA?
Yeah.
Where they were against the training and battling of Pokemon?
Something like that. And then I know in X and Y, they kind of also talk about like all of these issues about how Pokemon were used for like wars and stuff, because they kind of have this thing where you're like studying like all this old ancient history where like, oh, Pokemon were, you know, harnessed as weapons and used for
my
war
God.
or something like that.
This is going really deep.
It got super serious too at one point.
It's not
just
something I
remember
want in
thinking,
my Pokemon games.
oh my God. But it's funny though when you look at the formula of like, well, what you do for the game. It's like, what do you do in the game?
Okay,
First of all, it's
you
like,
battle?
well, you choose a starter.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
From
It's like-
in the beginning.
yeah. I
yes.
mean, you're a little kid, and it's like the whole idea is you're going out on this journey. So you choose a starting Pokemon from the starting professor. There's always a professor
named
you-
after a tree.
Exactly. And what do? You collect gym badges and collect Pokemon to build up your team of. It's always 6, I guess, right?
6.
Is 6
Always
always the
6.
maximum? Yeah, and then it's like on the way to do that, you also have to stop team like insert whatever name from doing
team down from taking over the Pokemon world
Yeah,
somehow.
from doing evil things and all that. And then of course after you've done that, and then you go beat the Elite Four and then face your rival who you've been enemies with since the beginning apparently. And then hey, once you're done with that, you beat the game technically, you go on.
You just keep catching them until your hands fall off.
Exactly. Till you run out of balls, you know.
Okay, so
Only so many balls.
we are going to be talking about balls here.
Pokeballs.
In addition to that, well, stay on track here, Will.
Okay, I'm focused. No more balls.
But the thing that you mentioned, like, you know, after you beat the game, you just continue to
Yeah.
catch more. I think that's pretty much the main draw of the game. It's not so much the journey and the RPG elements. It's what you can catch and what you can train, and like that's the whole reason why people keep playing it today, because they keep making more of them. There's
God.
what, 720?
Oh my
I think?
God, is that how many are
Yeah.
out now? That's I thought 150 was like more than enough back 20 years ago, you know?
Yeah. But I think with Nintendo, they're really not ones to reinvent the wheel when it comes to their franchises.
Yeah. Not at all.
Like, they're more than happy to keep these central ideas and keep Pokemon kind of the same.
Yeah, I mean, why change it if people like it?
Yeah,
and if
don't
and if
fix
it's doing
what
well.
ain't broken.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's exactly what's kept it afloat for so many years.
Yeah,
You know, it's familiar to people. They don't really... If there was a huge change in how you catch Pokemon, how you collect them, like
Right.
you no longer could find them in the wild. You had to go through some other method. If they did that, there would be so much like turmoil and unrest in the
think-
Pokemon world.
I think maybe that's why some of the other like offshoot games haven't been as well received as just the regular mainline Pokemon games have. Because
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There've been tons of spin-offs
Like
now, right?
Mystery Dungeon 5 and all
Yeah.
these other ones.
It's like people don't buy Pokemon games for that kind of like for that.
No, they
really.
just want the traditional Pokemon experience, and that's what they're hoping to get with each new iteration.
Yeah. Oh, and supposedly, did you hear that they're I guess to bring it back to like more current news, they've also apparently like trademarked apparently a couple of new names.
Oh, Moon and Sun?
Yeah.
They announced that today.
Oh, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, right. There was that Nintendo Direct that was
Yeah.
today, right? So what did they turn out to be? Are they new games?
Yes, they are.
Oh shit.
I didn't actually watch it yet, but
Yeah. Neither did I.
I'll get around to that. But that's exciting.
Yeah.
Quick question: If it's called Moon and Sun, does
Mm-hmm.
that mean they're in our solar system, their world? Because the sun is only our sun; it's a
Exactly.
star. If it
Exactly.
was Moon and Star, it could be anywhere.
I've always wondered that in the getting into like these deeper realms of like fiction and fantasy in general. Like
And where the universe of
Yeah.
this story lies.
it was funny when I was reading the third Game of Thrones book. They talk about the sun and the moon, and I'm just sitting there thinking like, so does that mean this planet only it's a single star system because there's only one sun and one moon?
And
but
not
they also have
only
one
the
moon?
one sun and one moon, it is called the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what we named our star.
Exactly.
Anyway, enough
Anyway.
astronomy for you guys.
Don't you dare call it astrology.
No, sorry. Okay. It's been 20 years,
Yeah.
and think about all the stuff you could have done in 20 years. Just think about it.
What did we do in 20 years? We graduated like middle school, high school, college,
And now we work.
and now we work. I have like coworkers who are younger than that, actually that age. Like I have one of my coworkers is like she's like not even, I think she's like 20, exactly 20. So or maybe not, I had one coworker who was 19, and I'm sitting there like, wow, You weren't even around when this game came out.
As I was ripping open the packages for my Game Boy,
When I was sitting there waiting at EBX to pick up my copy of Pokemon Red, you were not even conceived yet.
well, actually, okay, no, that's not true. Because 1996 was the Japanese release, and it didn't come out in America till 1998. But we're not focusing on that.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I guess I just totally forgot when that actually
Not
was.
focusing on that. But originally, the 20 years that has passed, think about all you could do in 20 years. So here's one thing. Here's one fact. If you had been convicted and served the maximum prison sentence for a Class B felony, which includes but is not only limited to kidnapping with a firearm, assaulting a disabled person, and importing child pornography, if you had gotten arrested for that the day Pokemon came out, you would be out to play the new one for 3DS.
Wow. So,
Or the remake.
so that was the maximum prison sentence, 20 years?
Yeah.
Jesus.
If you had gotten the maximum, you'd be out to enjoy it right now.
That seems a little lenient, don't you think? I mean, I guess it's a Class B felony.
Yeah, it's not Class A. And you didn't kill anyone, you just assaulted someone.
You just assaulted them.
Not only anyone, it's a disabled person. So the day Pokemon came out, you went to EB, you got it, and then you tackled a guy in a wheelchair off of like a balcony or whatever, and he got even more disabled somehow.
It's like, well, you'd be out in time to buy a 3DS
you'd go
still play
out.
the same game. Wow.
You could probably keep redoing that cycle over and over until they re-release Gold and Silver, I guess.
Oh, no. That's going to be another couple of years, but man.
But yeah, that's one
a
thing that you could have done.
Okay.
Or if
You definitely looked this up.
Yeah, of course. Do my research.
Yeah.
Or if in 1996 you had a child and they grew up, they would be in a lot of student debt.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
20 years old.
Oh, good
Although
Lord.
having a child at, 10 years old? Not exactly what I want to be doing with my life.
No. Sorry, you kind of that was a little took me by surprise there. I didn't really know how to respond to that one.
Okay, well, respond to this. Red or blue?
Red.
Oh, okay.
Red's my color, man.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Damn it, you're the wrong person to ask.
Exactly. See, unlike you, I don't have a problem like picking a side automatically. Even when with Pokemon X and Y, I was like, oh hell yeah, X automatically.
Why? Ooh.
Oh, you did not just
I didn't.
do that.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
That was completely unintentional, wasn't it? But I don't know. I mean, I really couldn't even say what. I couldn't even say why.
For what reason?
For what reason that
you
was.
did this.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, like out of those two letters, especially, and out of like the two like cover images, I was drawn to X immediately. And I don't know, it just seems
Does X have the guy with the
It has-
man with the antlers?
yeah, it has the Pokemon with the antlers.
Okay. And the other
I
one
can't
is
even
a-
pronounce that one. Well, the other one actually looks
It's like
cool.
a lizard?
Yeah, it's some kind of like flying like lizard type monster. I don't even know their names. The thing is, it's like I don't know if you played through that one, but you catch them pretty much automatically anyway.
What?
Yeah, I think when you fight the X Pokemon or the Y Pokemon, you literally cannot finish the battle without catching it.
That sounds like pretty hand holding right there.
It kind of is, yeah. When I played through it, I was like, wow, you're just gonna give me like a legendary?
Well,
Okay.
Okay, when you catch Mewtwo, you're expected to still have the Master Ball if you hadn't wasted it on like an Oddish or something.
I had a friend who did that in middle school.
What do you use it on?
I think he just used it on
Something
like
good, right?
Well, it was like it was like Zapdos or Articuno or one of the other ones.
That's fine. If it's a legendary, you're allowed
But
to
oh
use
my
it.
god, it's
If
like
you use it on a freaking like I don't know a Shelder or something.
level 2 Rattata. Yes.
Why would you even be in there? Okay, but if you're talking about red or blue for me,
Yeah.
I want to say blue.
I feel like you'd be more of a blue person.
Okay, well, I started off with red. Red was the first one I got.
Mm-hmm.
I call 151.
You got Mew?
I got Mew.
There you go.
Some guy with a Game Shark was going around giving it away. Anyway, got 151, and then I lost the cartridge.
Oh my god, really?
But I don't quite remember if that was before or after I got blue. It
Oh.
might have been after.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I was... Actually, did I catch 151 on blue?
That's a lot of work.
I have no idea. Hey, we were kids. We played it a lot.
We had a lot of free time.
I mean, blue for me, like the colors do not really matter as much as the exclusives that they had.
Yeah, the colors were
That's
kinda
what was
arbitrary.
really important because in blue you had Sand Slash, you had
yeah.
okay, Victory Bell. I don't know if you want to care about
Right.
that. It had Ninetales, it had Pinsir, and it had Magmar.
That's probably why I also went with red because
Really?
I like because what were the ones in red? Like I think Cubone.
Oddish. Cubone was in both.
Okay, it was in both.
Oddish.
No. Oddish,
It was Mankey and Primeape. It was Scyther.
Scyther was one of my top picks. That's why.
Electabuzz.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Electabuzz. That one was kind of stupid.
And Arcanine. There we go.
That was it. So those were like two of my mains right there. It was like Arcanine and Scyther right there. So I mean that's probably why I went with red because I looked at those.
red had Mankey and Primeape, which are among the best Pokemon in the game.
There's the most
I'll say that right there
hilarious.
because they're freaking not a monkey. It's
Yeah.
a Mankey.
Manky.
But each
Just reminds me.
I can't do it.
Just reminds me of like did you ever read that that web comic was it VG Cats?
Sometimes.
The guy he did a like a Pokemon themed comic for a while, and there was just like this crazy old man character who asked that question. He's like about evolution. It's like if we're evolved from monkeys, how come they're still monkeys? Oh, Mankeys. So you like Mankeys, huh?
Mankeys. Oh no, more Primeape than anything because Mankey looks like it's like a naked Primeape.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of which, like in the original red and blue, what was your team? What did you like? What were the
What was my
Pokemon you like?
Team?
Yeah,
oh,
like
man.
like I mean, I don't know, not even like your main 6, but like, what are your like top like 8 maybe?
Top 8.
Yeah.
Okay, the ones that I typically had on my team at any given time, not necessarily the best ones in the game, but
Oh yeah, what
ones
did you like?
Ones that I liked. Actually, some of them I didn't even really like. I just used them because they were good.
Right.
Like, okay, the legendaries, they get a free pass. Like,
Yeah,
everyone
exactly.
had at least one on their team.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're all cheaters. But I had Articuno.
Okay.
And that was it. That was
Oh.
that was the one I really liked the most because it's an ice bird. Come on.
Yeah, Ice Beam. Come on.
I used Doug Trio.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What? You're gonna what?
Sorry, I don't mean to give you that judging look. I'm just like, like a bunch of penises coming out of the ground.
Oh no, they're not pieces. They're
Hot dogs?
They're 3 men snuggling underground. You've never seen that fan art?
No.
Go look it up, man.
Oh, God.
Those are their heads, and they're like these muscular men just like hugging underground, like really close together.
Is that why Doug Trio's so buff, man?
Yeah.
It's like he's actually one of the best ground types in the game or something.
Well, he's the fastest and probably has the highest attack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he is really bad when you in defense or special defense or anything like that.
Right.
It sucks. But he's fast. He gets the job done quickly, and he dies and gets out of there.
Okay, so you had Articuno, Doug Trio.
Sandslash, I
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
He had pretty high attack, not as quick as Doug Trio, but he also didn't die as quickly.
Yeah, makes sense for, if you think about the biology of him, he's supposed to have like the scales on the outside like an armadillo.
Yeah. He has spikes actually.
Oh, right, he evolves with the
Who
spikes.
else did I use?
What was your starter?
Squirtle.
Squirtle? Okay.
Yeah. So I had Blastoise for most of the end game, which
Yeah.
it was pretty good. Oh, damn it! I had it in my head. I used Clefable a lot
Oh, Clefable?
because
Really?
Clefable had a really really high special attack,
Mm-hmm.
and he could pretty much learn any TM in the game.
Right.
So you can load him up with like all these different types and send him out for any situation.
Yeah, he became like an all-purpose kind of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I want to say Gengar, but I'm not sure because at the time there weren't any really good ghost type moves.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of the thing about some of the earlier games where they didn't have too many Pokemon. Like ghost types didn't seem all that great.
Ghost types were cool.
Yeah.
And you could teach them cool things, but none of the actual ghost type moves were good.
Right.
There was Lick and there was maybe Shadow Ball, which did a set amount of damage.
Yeah, which
And
is
then
later on
Dream
in the game,
Eater,
it's like-
which it was impossible to use because it had to be asleep and Hypnosis didn't work. There's a lot of things wrong with Ghosts. I'll just say that right
kind of
there.
like in the same way that like Dragon was grossly overpowered for the longest time. I think
No,
actually
it was. I don't think it was ever overpowered.
I mean, it felt
Because
like
you know
it
what?
was.
Because everyone used ice,
Oh, yeah, that's true.
and it would just fall.
Yeah. I mean, but it felt like it was strong against so many types. Like I think in X and Y they actually added a new type just to kind of offset
Fairy?
dragon. Yeah, they added fairy. And
Okay,
dragon's
well,
supposed to be
you're gonna
weak
talk
against
about that 20 years later.
it. Yeah, no, I guess not.
We're not.
No.
We're not going there.
I'm not really keeping tabs anymore. I beat X, so I'm kind of done with it. So
Yeah. Oh, what other ones did I use?
yeah, I think for mine, like I was like trying to, I was trying to remember like my original starting team. I don't think I remember exactly what team I used because I think I was one of those people too. I had probably at least one or two of the legendaries. Like I probably brought Mewtwo along with me after a while, and I know I kept Zapdos. I think Zapdos was my main legendary that I kept all the time, just
Yeah.
because I like the idea of like the flying and electric type. But I was trying to think about what I used a lot of. Definitely Charizard because Charmander. Well, Charmander was always also despite being like I'm drawn to fire types, so despite being like the main fire starter, it was also starting with Charmander was actually a lot harder because the first couple of gyms.
But the thing is, like, everyone did that. Like,
Yeah.
everyone knew. Like, you go to the schoolyards
Yeah.
all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, did you pick Charmander?" And everyone knew that it was the hardest one to get through for the first
Yeah.
two gyms. But everyone used him because he was so cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I
And
think
I didn't want to be cool, so I picked Squirtle.
I think the first time around I actually picked Bulbasaur, just because
He's good for the first two gyms.
Yeah, because he decimates the rock type, he decimates water type, so it's like, all right, that's cool, free pass for the first two gyms. But yeah, I mean, when I actually restarted the game. I think after I got to Mount Moon, just because I realized I missed a lot of stuff, so I really just don't want to just walk back. I just want to restart it. so I picked Charmander that time, and that was like the file that I kept, and I got all the 151 also.
Not bad.
But yeah, so Charizard wound up being like one of my mains. For a long time, I actually really liked Pidgeot and Pidgeotto. Mainly because of the cartoon, because that was one of Ash's main Pokemon. So
bringing that into
this. So I kept Pidgeotto in there for a while, probably up until I got like Zapdos, because I needed like
a flying type to
a flying
bring
type,
you somewhere.
Exactly, a flying type that did something. Because after a while, like you just can't use normals. You need something with an elemental type. But
And normal types suck.
Yeah, I know that's the problem with them. But there's so many. Like I saw that in X and Y. There's just so many normals.
They just need to give you something at the beginning of the game. They're not just gonna drop these like ice and fire and psychic types on you right from the start.
They just give you something that can basically just like bite or scratch or slash, and then by the time you got like 3 badges, all right, I can dump these in the box and leave them.
Bite's a dark move. Now it is.
Now it is. Yeah. Who else did I use? I used Scyther a lot because it was one of my favorites, just because he's so badass looking. I actually really loved Cubone. Surprisingly, I think I was one of the few people who actually bothered to keep Cubone like mostly like intact until like later on, so he could learn the moves faster.
Oh.
And then I just evolved him to Marowak later just because. I didn't really like the way Marowak
I never had the patience to do that.
Yeah.
Because they're so underpowered when you don't evolve them.
Yeah, they are. They are. It took fucking forever. Just like it took forever to get the Magikarp to Gyarados. It's like you had to like basically start off with him and
that's a
swap him
labor
out.
of love right there.
Yeah, so Gyarados was another one that I used a lot of because that was my main water type, I think. I think it was a water type. But what else? Raichu, Lapras, those are ones I used for a while. Yeah, Lapras was good. And he's actually really good in Pokemon X also. You get one, I think, fairly early in the game. It's pretty good. And then Dragonair when the dragon types came about. So those were the ones I think I used a lot of. It's funny too when looking back at the way I play Pokemon X now, like the way I played Pokemon X last year, and like when I played through it, looking at my team in Pokemon X is a lot like looking at my team that I just mentioned.
You just basically kept the same.
Yeah, because
the same because those are the ones you're familiar with.
Yeah, right? I'm familiar with them, and they're still a lot cooler.
Yeah,
than all of these
that's
new
the
ones.
problem with us. We just think about what we're nostalgic about, and never go go anywhere outside that bubble.
I mean, that's the thing, though. I was willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to like give the newer ones a chance.
You need to actually put them on your team. That's what's giving them a chance.
So stupid.
Okay, well, yes, I'll agree with you there.
Come on, like, what are they? Some of the Pokemon that they have nowadays, they're like, this one's a freaking garbage bag. It's literally a garbage bag.
That's
this
like one of my favorite ones to laugh at.
Like, or what was the other one? Cleft Key. It's a freaking set of keys.
Oh, there's Honedge, which is
the sword.
A sword, and he evolves into
two swords.
Double Edge.
Yeah,
which is it's not even like where do you draw the line between an inanimate object and like a sentient being?
Exactly. I mean, I thought it was bad enough in Gold and Silver when they were like, "This is a pine cone Pokemon."
That was okay.
Yeah,
because at least you gave him a face and
exactly
maybe kind of a mouth. Nowadays it's just like a cup. Oh, is it a cup that's also a bird? No, it's just a cup.
Yeah, or what about the ice cream cone? The ice cream cone Pokemon.
Oh,
I don't know what it's called.
I can't remember that right now.
But it's like an ice type, and it's just like, what is this crap? It's like, are you guys like losing like ideas for designs over there at
They're
Nintendo?
just looking around the office, seeing what they haven't turned into a Pokemon yet, and they're picking. Oh, wait, bring that over here. Let me see it. Okay, this is now a Pokemon. Sir, can I eat my ice cream now?
Yeah, that's what it feels like sometimes. So, yeah, my team in X is remarkably similar to this one here. I think I have Blastoise in the team. Lapras is in there for sure. Yeah, I mean, sub out like Charizard for whatever the fire starter is in X. I think I used, what was it, Fennekin?
Yeah.
Was the start of the Fox. That one's really cool. I do like the starters in X and Y.
Yeah, I feel like the starters might be the only ones that really get any respect in each of the generations.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like they put a little bit more effort into making those like not only well designed but also cute and just pleasing to look at.
Exactly. They have to be likable. They have to make people want to select them.
Yeah, not like garbage bag.
Yeah. It is kind of funny though, looking at, I mean, I always have to refer to X because that's the only modern Pokemon I've played. But even in that game, it's they give you the choice of a Gen 1 starter, like really early.
Oh
in the
yeah,
game.
I know that.
And I just think it's funny because it really I think it really reflects that mentality that it's like we still are very much nostalgic for these original Pokemon,
and we recognize that people are too.
Yeah,
and we know that people who play this probably will have played the originals, or if they haven't, they'll learn them this way.
Yeah, and then just, you get to freaking pick a whole other starter, and it's just so cool,
I mean, you'll learn that all these designs were a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And like straight to the point, not just objects.
Yeah.
Like true, they were a lot of them were just alternate takes on existing animals mostly. Mm-hmm. Like, Ekans and Mankey and Oddish and all these other things.
Did you know that if you spell Ekans backwards,
it smells cobra? Right? Did I say smells cobra?
Smells cobra? It smells like cobra. Yeah, probably, but it's a snake.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages that the original had was that, I mean, they're cute and they don't need to be like, the Pokemon designs didn't need to be as crazy as they are now. Yeah. Mostly because they didn't have anything to compare to back then. Exactly. They could just make something look cool based on this animal. They didn't need to be like, okay, how are we going to make it look different from all the other bird Pokemon that we have?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why the original 150 are so classic, because they didn't have to conform to this idea that you need to change it so much every single generation.
Yeah, and even the Pokemon that did seem a little like contrived or that seemed like
Who's
they were
contrived?
Well, like, I mean, they're based on like, they look like they're based on real objects. Like, for example, like, Execute. It's a freaking like,
it's a half a dozen eggs.
Yeah, exactly. That's not like, how is that a Pokemon? I mean, are there actual eggs in this universe?
Well, do you want to
that are not Pokemon?
Are the only eggs in Execute? And do they not eat chicken?
Yeah.
What do they eat?
Hell if I know.
They eat like,
in the show they always just ate like Pokemon treats that Brock fed them because he was a breeder apparently.
Yeah, but what are those treats made out of?
I don't know.
Dead Pokemon.
So they're all cannibals in some form.
Yeah.
Or they eat each other. But what were some of the other ones that were based on objects? Like Voltorb? It just looked like a Pokeball. Yeah. Or Magnemites.
Well, I wouldn't say they're based off of them because they're a little floating. Okay, there's nothing that floats in real life, is there?
Yeah, but it's just like it looks like a magnet with a bunch of like little screws on it,
I know, but it wasn't literally just a magnet with eyes. It had this body that resembled something that was like a creature of some sort.
But it just felt it's one of those things where it's made up of man-made what to us are man-made objects, So it just felt kind of weird, but in that, like during that time when those games came out in the show, it wasn't weird to us to see that. We didn't look at those and just go like, this is stupid. It's not a Pokemon. It's just a bunch of eggs or something, But now,
when we look at all these new ones, that's what we're doing to them.
Exactly. We're like, this is a trash bag. This is a set of keys.
Is it because we're like so jaded now to new designs and that's probably it.
Maybe. Probably.
Okay, well, I mean, what did you like about the original, aside from the design or the Pokemon itself?
I mean, I think the big draw of Pokemon, and the big reason why it's like it hasn't, the big reason why it's like it's still so fun and so popular is it really taps into that. I mean, for me at least, it taps into that inner hoarder, where you're like you just got to collect all the things. I'm big on collecting things. I like collecting things. I like having I'm very OCD about having a full bookshelf full of like things that are numbered or in alphabetical order and stuff like that. So that was fun for me. Just collecting them all. Even if I didn't use a Pokemon ever, and I just like would catch it, I just wanted to have it. I wanted to have all of them.
It was a feeling of increasing your collection and making it more complete.
Exactly, completing it. That was the big thing, especially with the first one, is like getting that 151 and completing your Pokedex.
Yeah, they were really smart with that to create that many and then market it that way.
Oh yeah, gotta catch them all.
That's what kept kids playing it.
Yeah,
like most games for the Game Boy, they probably didn't last more than a few hours.
Yeah,
like you would pick up something like Donkey Kong Land and play it, then put it down after you beat it, and then maybe never even touch it again.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of those original Game Boy games, they had sequels to them. They had a lot of sequels.
Yeah,
even the Final Fantasy games, there were 4 of them.
Pokemon, some would play it upwards of 100 or 200 hours.
Oh yeah,
actually, like us.
Yeah, like us. Even when they get re-released, I saw how many hours when all of you guys bought Gold and Silver when it was re-released for the DS. I saw how many hours our friend Marty put into it. Oh my god.
Hundred.
Yeah. I mean, granted, our friend Marty is the type of person who I think, he likes very few games, but the games he does like, he plays the crap out of them.
Get your money's worth, man.
Like he's probably spent a couple 100 hours on Skyrim alone. But yeah, when I saw his file in Pokemon, I'm like, whoa, he's played like 150 hours already on that. And
I'm probably gonna spend another 150 on Red or Blue, whichever one I get.
Yeah, when you think about the combined amount of time that you'll have spent playing like the first generation of Pokemon across all these.
God. If I still had my red cartridge, I could tell you.
Yeah. I actually sold my red cartridge a couple of years ago.
Why?
Because the battery was completely shot.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, you told me about that.
That was one of the things about those games is because it relied on batteries to actually save your file. Like once the battery died, that's it.
Yeah, well, you could replace it if you wanted to.
It's a lot of work.
I'm surprised most of my games that I have, the battery power still works. Still works, yeah.
That's good. What I'm really worried about is my cartridge of Chrono Trigger doing that, biting the dust that way.
You better back it up somehow.
I know. I have files on there that are like from when I was in elementary school.
Oh god.
Like I see the names of the characters and I'm like,
the clock is ticking.
Oh no. Might want to just cut this short so I can go do that now.
Well, for me, kind of looking back on the game, it's a very impressive game. Not just in the way it's marketed and the way it was devoured by kids everywhere, but in the way that it presented itself. Because it was released in 1998 in America. Yeah. And so that means it was among the very last games to ever be released on the original Game Boy.
Yeah. It was like really late.
It was like really late. I think by 1998 the Game Boy Color was already out, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it might have come out even before that. feel like it might have.
Trying to remember. But yeah, it just seemed like they packed so much of, as much as they could into this tiny little cartridge. I don't know. It's still, it shouldn't impress me as much as it does.
Mm-hmm.
But, in packing all the entire game and also the music, which I always thought was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those songs were catchy as hell.
They're not only catchy, but they were really, really rich sounding.
Oh, you mean the actual sound
Like,
of the...
no, not the sound, but the music. Like, you go into every town and it's something different.
Yeah.
And they managed to make it unique enough to actually feel like you're in a different area each time. And, whew. Like, it was very, for someone who's like 10 or 12 years old, it's really, really, like, to hear that, especially if you plug in your headphones on your Game Boy and you listen to that, it's a really, really engrossing experience, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It really is one of those worlds you could lose yourself in. And I think that was what impressed me the most when that game came out, is just how big the world is.
Yeah.
Like, for a Game Boy game, like an original Game Boy game, that was not only, I mean, we're sitting here talking about just how many creatures there were in there to collect. There's 151 different ones,
each with their own sets of statistics, special abilities.
Exactly. I mean, that alone is really impressive that they could fit so much on that cartridge, and then you think about how big the world is, how many towns, how many routes there were, and it's like that there's a
lot of pixels.
Yeah, and there's little wonder why those games really, it took you 100 hours to get through them. There's like little wonder at all. I mean, that it's just, the world's so huge.
And they squeezed a lot into like a really, really tiny hole.
Yeah, and it's even more impressive when you think about like when Gold and Silver came out too, and it's like, I mean, we could talk about that another time in more detail.
Yeah.
But I remember when Gold and Silver came out, just thinking to myself, oh my God, they put so much more into this game.
Don't spoil it, for people who haven't played it yet.
Well, they've had like almost like 15 years to play this game. God damn it!
Two separate releases.
Exactly. You've had all this time, people. If you haven't played it, you're probably not gonna. Yeah. Honestly.
I mean, yeah, it was big. Like it and I think the greatest achievement it ever made was tricking me into playing it, because it's an RPG.
I know.
It's a freaking RPG.
That's a very, very good point, because Joe, we might have mentioned on this show before, but Joey very much does not like to play RPGs.
It's not that I don't like it. I just can't hold my attention.
Yeah. You're very impatient. I mean, when it comes to those kind of things, I think.
But when it came to Pokemon, I was like, sure, I'm in.
I mean,
sign me up.
To be fair, I think that's always been, to be honest, that's been my biggest gripe about the Pokemon series overall.
That I've enjoyed playing it.
Yeah, it's like, stop enjoying it, God damn it. But no, over the last 20 years, I mean, even with the latest ones like X and Y, I mean, the biggest drawback for me as like an adult now playing those games is that it is the same simplistic kind of story every time. I mean, they have to make it kid friendly, obviously, because that was their target audience, and that pretty much still, I think, is their target audience, is like younger players.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that it's like the same exact story every time, and it does get really stale, because to me, I am one of those people that I really like engrossing stories. So there were parts of X that really were pretty neat, like when they started tackling some of that more serious subject matter that we talked about at the beginning. But for the most part, just like the idea of like, it's this, like the same story, especially when it comes to like the antagonists, like Team Rocket, Team Flare, Team whoever.
Yeah.
And it's always the same thing. It's like they're just this big group of this giant criminal organization that is apparently so surprisingly inept that they will lose to a 10-year-old kid, in every time. So I don't know.
Really, you're gonna complain about that?
Now I would complain about that now, not 20 years ago, obviously. But I mean, it does kind of make me kind of question, and wonder: is there room for a game like that? That's a Pokemon game that is like a little more mature, or like even aimed at like adults.
You mean like kind of a collecting type game?
Yeah, like
with a good story.
Yeah, because obviously we're still pulled by the series. We're still pulled in by Pokemon. I mean, it was pretty obvious, like when all of you guys got into Gold and Silver again. It's pretty obvious when I got into Pokemon X, and I played the crap out of it. So there's still something about that formula that works for us, gamers now, as approaching our like 30s. So that would be my question, is like, is there room for a more mature Pokemon game?
What about Chrono Cross?
Chrono Cross?
Does that count? Don't you collect people?
There are RPGs that are like that, where you actually I think an even better example of that would be the Suikoden series. Suikoden, Shikoden. I always called it Shikoden because somebody called it that, but I think it's like called
that rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
Suikoden. But those are some of the best RPGs like I have ever played.
I'll take your word for it.
The first two in particular, but it's very much the same kind of game where you're like you're basically in charge of this giant army, and you go out and you can recruit up to 108 different characters. Not all of them are ones you take into battle. Some of them actually are just to fill out your castle. Like, it's like, I have a castle now, a home base. I have to find a cook. I have to find somebody to run the inn, or I have to find somebody to run the weapon shop. But that was fun too, just seeking out all of those different characters and collecting them and seeing them in your base, and just like seeing how your base grows as you collect more people. And it's just so cool,
Just the idea of collecting people.
Yeah,
makes me laugh.
Honestly, that's kind of what those games were about.
Gotta slave them all.
Exactly.
Enslave them all.
Yeah, you recruit them,
Are we going back to your roots as a slave driver once again?
I suppose, if you want to think of it that way. But honestly, I'd probably buy that game if they made like a more mature themed Pokemon game with a really good story and that had this.
Or they collect people instead? Or
No, I could still be collecting Pokemon, but I mean, maybe it tackles those issues like what you were saying that they do in Black and White, where it's like they have these groups that are opposed to, the enslavement of Pokemon in general.
Okay, yeah, like but that is not going to be made by Nintendo.
No.
In any timeline here.
Probably not. Because like we said earlier, why break it if it's not, why change it if it's not broke?
Yeah, you may not take to Pokemon the same way as you did 20 years ago, but younger people might.
Yeah.
Or older people might even, because there's some people that I'm sure appreciate the same formula, and they play it mostly to see just all the different types and all the different kinds of Pokemon. That's what is the main draw for them.
Is that your main draw for it, Joey?
I mean, I'm excited for the re-release of the original, so no.
What do you think about this upcoming fighting game that they're releasing for it? Pokken Tournament?
Oh, yeah. I would like to play it. I'm not sure about spending $60 on it. Yeah. At least not yet.
Hey, I mean,
it looks really strange. I'll say that much.
Yeah, you have Pikachu throwing down a Stone Cold Stunner on all these
on Machamp,
and Lucario and all those other Pokemon. That was pretty sweet, actually. Just seeing that, that's pretty awesome.
Like it's such a weird hybrid of fighting games. I think.
Yeah.
If you've seen it in action, it's basically the Naruto games. Because they run around this arena and you kind of follow your character, and once you get close, it turns into a 2D thing.
Oh,
at least I think so. That's still how it is.
So it starts out as kind of like a 3D sort of like thing where you run around.
Yeah, 3D arena brawler, and then it turns into like Tekken afterwards.
Yeah, okay. So there's more like sidestepping and things.
But the problem with that is when it was released in the arcade, there were dual cabinets. And so each person had their own screen. And now that it's on the Wii U, one person has to use the TV, one person has to use the gamepad.
Oh, that's terrible.
So because you can't have both of them running around in 3D space on the same screen.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be weird.
It's not only is it going to be weird, it's going to be at EVO.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the big talk about it, because it's supposed to be like a real it's supposed to be like a competitive fighting game, right?
I mean, they want it to be. Whether or not it actually is still meant. It's still being yet to see.
Yeah, you got to think that Nintendo might be sponsoring that whole thing.
Oh, definitely. That's why it's in EVO, and
right?
That's why so many other fighting games aren't.
Right.
I mean, it comes out when, like, March, I think.
Yeah.
So people who are going to be competing only have maybe about 3 or 4 months of practice. I mean, same with Street Fighter V, but
yeah, that's true.
It's such an odd game, and they must really want it to do well and have it be as competitive as it can with, especially with Smash being in there.
Right.
Because if you recall, a couple years ago, Nintendo almost banned it from being shown at EVO at all.
Yeah, which
they
was
were almost going to
funny.
cancel the tournament because of that.
Yeah.
And now they, not only in the years since then, have they put in all this money to promote Smash tournaments, but now they want this new game, which they made specifically for fighting game people to be used at EVO. And
It's kind of almost like a complete 180 of the way
it's
they were
a 180,
thinking.
and then they just like sped ahead of the pack with
Yeah.
their money.
Like, all right, this is what we're gonna do for you guys instead.
We're not only going to do this, but you're going to get more Nintendo. Yeah. Why isn't anyone else cheering with us?
I'm not really cheering. I'm just humoring you.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. So we're definitely gonna sit back and watch this year's Evo.
Just for Pokken.
I mean, I'm curious to see it though. I'm curious to see, like,
What high level play will actually
exactly
look
what.
like.
Yeah, exactly. What is considered a high level play? It's like we don't even know yet because the game's not out. So
Like, who else is in that game? I know there's like Machamp.
yeah,
There's
Lucario.
There's Gardevoir.
I think Charizard's in there too, right?
Really?
Because I thought
Okay, well, if he's in there, then
Yeah.
that's a surefire way to get people to play it.
yeah, for sure.
I don't know, but I think originally they said they were only going to have like fighting or something physical,
Yeah,
as the
because
types.
it would make sense. I mean,
but now they've added a bunch of. I'm pretty sure they've added a bunch of Pokemon that don't really fall into that category.
yeah, like how would you add in, like, like bird types and stuff, for example?
Maybe not birds. At least bipedal
Yeah,
Pokemon.
I mean, I can kind of see how you would do, maybe like, weird like amorphous Pokemon like Muck or something. I can kind of see
Muck.
how you would do that, but
Muck.
yeah, because it's like
You know, Muck backwards is okay. Well,
anyway.
can we talk about Muck for just a minute? Or
Yeah, you want to talk about Muck? What
I'm
about
gonna
Muck?
talk about Muck.
What do you like
I'll
about
talk
Muck?
about poison types.
Oh, poison types.
Because out of all the types in the original game,
Uh-huh.
I feel like that one was the most shat upon.
Because it sucked, man.
Okay, and you know the reason why it sucked, right?
Tell me why.
It was because everyone and their mother used Psychic. Like, at its core, Poison has some really good moves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have Toxic,
Yeah.
and they have... Okay, maybe that might be the only one.
Yeah, I was like, okay, go on.
But the
Tell me
type
more.
in general is a very, very unique one because, it deals damage, like, over time.
Yeah.
It uses dots, but I feel like once people got to, like, really, really, high levels in the game, that wasn't... They couldn't afford to do that anymore.
Yeah, it just didn't do enough damage.
It was about whether or not... It was about how quickly you could KO the other Pokemon.
Yeah.
It wasn't about disabling them or poisoning them or anything like that anymore. It was just, if you can get a one-hit KO, then you're good. And that's what people strove for all the time.
Yeah, well, because it was about having the type advantage.
Yeah.
So that your attacks would basically just flat out, kill them because it was super effective.
And surprise, Poison has nothing that's good against, except for Bug, which is even worse.
Yeah, like Bug, you would rarely ever see players using Bug types like towards the end of the game.
No.
That was not an end game species.
It's funny because Koga, the poison gym leader, he was like the second or third to last gym in the game.
Yeah.
And so you think I wonder if they had bigger plans for Poison than what actually went down.
I mean, maybe it's possible, but I think too it's like the reason why for example, when I think about Red and Blue in particular, I think of Alakazam. Alakazam was like the main psychic type that you would use,
Yeah.
or at least me and my friends, we used him because the fact that first of all, just catching him was such a chore, like having to catch an Abra that would keep freaking teleporting
all the
every
time.
single time. And then like, not only that, but once you got like, what is it? Kadabra? Was that its name? Abra, Kadabra?
Kadabra, and Alakazam.
Yeah, so Kadabra already was really cool. Like, its design was really good. It had really good attacks. It was strong.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that, Alakazam was one of those Pokemon that you had to trade in order to get him to evolve to that high level. You remember, you had to trade him, and then your friend had to trade him back if you wanted him back.
If they would even give it back.
Exactly. That was kind of the cool thing. It's like that was also one of those things like from back in the days. That proved you had friends that you could trade with.
Or it proved that you don't have friends.
And instead you had
never
two
catch
Game
all
Boys.
150.
Yeah, so that would show that you only had that maybe, you didn't have any friends, or you had 2 Game Boys and 2 copies of the game and you're playing them simultaneously, because that's very sad. That was not me, by the way. Not me at all.
Sure.
I traded with my friends in
That was me.
in like woodshop class. We played Pokemon instead of doing woodshop, which is probably safer looking back at it, considering I heard like my woodshop teacher eventually lost a finger in that class.
Oh boy.
After we graduated.
Can't play Pokemon anymore.
Yeah, no. At least not if it says thumb. But
Poison. I'm not done with this here.
okay. But I was just saying, like, Alakazam was at least as far as I saw, was a very widely used Pokemon. So it's like psychic types, man.
Yeah, they ruined the game for Poison, because Poison, they may not have been the strongest, but they had the ideas, and they also had the designs, I think.
Yeah, they were actually some of the cooler ones.
Like, okay, yeah, we mentioned Ekans, Arbok, and then Muck.
Muck!
Because Muck is just a pile of
Toxic sludge. Yeah, he's so great.
Formed into this something that maybe wants to be a human.
Yeah. Or you could think of it as like it's a bunch of Grimers pushed together into one bigger puddle.
Oh wait,
Grimer
are you
was
sure
the
that's
first
not
one.
what it is?
It might be.
I need to read the Pokedex.
We should read the Pokedex. But yeah, it's like, because then it goes from Grimer to like Muck. And it's just Muck is just a bigger, meaner Grimer, essentially.
Yeah, I think just poison types in general, they have, it's almost like an interesting backstory behind them, like where they even came from. Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, you can see ground types. Oh, they came from their animals that live underground. Oh,
like moles or like...
grass ones live in grass. But poison ones, they're probably...
byproducts of like human waste materials.
Yeah, they're pretty much the byproducts of what humans have done to the world.
Yeah.
Like the people in the Pokemon world, yeah, they seem nice, but you have to realize that they also create trash.
Yep.
And, they do all these terrible things to their environment, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why you have these things like Muck, Grimer, and then also coughing and wheezing.
Yes, coughing and wheezing.
Because like
so great.
I think Weezing's design is probably one of the best in the game, because he's pretty much like disease incarnate. If you look at him, he's the result of 2 coughings being melded together because of some like Chernobyl type accident or years of just spewing out this toxic gas all the time, and they can't help it. That's just what they do.
That's what they're like made, or well, I guess somehow they're created to do that. Yeah.
Just all this like radiation and toxicity, and
damn, you're getting deep on this one.
You really have to think about where these Pokemon came from.
Yeah. I usually never thought too much about that, at least in regards to those ones.
Okay, here's the biology of Muck right here.
Okay, you got it. Got it there. Going to refer to the Bulbapedia.
Yeah, exactly. It says right here, it is a living biohazard, leaking toxins that instantly kill all plant life it touches.
Jesus.
Think about that. How does that happen in the natural world?
It doesn't.
Even it being in close proximity to plants will cause them to wilt and die.
So shouldn't it, see, like if we take that for example, shouldn't that mean that they're super effective? It's super effective against grass types.
Poison?
Yeah, well, just Muck in general. Like if it's got that kind of like Pokedex entry, you would think that they might have. I don't know.
No, it is good against grass.
Oh, okay. Never
Except
mind.
most grass people, most grass types are also poison types, which means it does the exact opposite.
Right.
Oh,
well,
poison. Okay, let me finish this. All right. Extreme caution is advised in avoiding any contact with this Pokemon, as an accidental brush up can lead to severe sickness. The effects of this Pokemon can leave the landscape barren for 3 years.
That's pretty.
3 years. 3 years.
That's pretty specific.
Death.
Yeah.
In dirty residential areas where people throw their trash onto the streets, it is almost certain to appear. So, like I said, they're created by people and their waste.
Yeah, like throwing away trash in the cities. That's kind of funny though. But like, can you imagine like, a Pokemon trainer who has a really, really big attachment to his Muck. He just wants to hug him. He's like, I love you, Muck. You're
there
the
must
best.
have been something in the anime about this. Maybe a deleted scene where Brock like dies because of it.
You just go to hug your Pokemon and it's like, oh god, he gave me cancer.
This is a very
Jeez.
special episode.
Oh my god, he just like absorbs all the rads from it.
Okay, and it says it will readily consume nearly any waste or refuse generated by people and Pokemon alike.
So does that mean it literally eats shit?
Yeah, basically Pokemon shit. And it says it can be found in heavily polluted bodies of water, cities, and factories. Can you imagine if this thing existed in the real world?
That would
be fucking
It would
terrifying.
be terrifying. That's like what you would see in a horror movie.
Like, okay, how big are Mucks? They're like almost 4 feet tall.
Oh,
Just
that's-
imagine this huge sludge beam, like moving toward you at like maybe a snail's rate, but the fact that it has these giant
Arms that are just
is
reaching
for you.
It's got a giant cavernous mouth that like leads to nowhere.
I'm sure it
That's-
just dissolves anything that you put inside it.
Yeah, it's like goddamn terrifying.
Oh, Ash had a Muck.
Oh, I don't remember that, really.
It says right here, Ash captured a Muck in Sparks Fly for Magnemite. It was transferred to Professor Oak's lab, where
Oak all of a sudden
probably-
passed away from unnatural causes.
it says Ash's Muck is always trying to smother Professor Oak.
See, after all that we just talked about like Muck's biology, that actually sounds like really dark and scary, you know?
I'm surprised Professor Oak didn't try to like do anything to, or maybe I didn't watch the episode, but
Yeah. It's just like, why are you sending me this
I would
this
put him in a
cancerous
Pokeball and
blob.
throw it into the river.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
No, you're going to pollute the river with it?
But he's in
Damn.
a Pokeball. He's not gonna get out unless someone touches it.
So it'd be like Jumanji. It just washes up on a beach and somebody finds it
my
and
God.
unleashes this
On like a
poison.
desert island.
Yeah.
And it turns it into like this steaming pile
my
of
God.
refuse.
That's terrible.
Good Lord.
How did we get to this place?
Muck. The best
Muck.
Pokemon in the game. You want after I start up the red and blue, whichever
Yep.
one I get,
He's
I'm just
gonna be
gonna
in
have
your
I'm
team.
just gonna have a team of 6 Mucks.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna see if I get poisoned at any point. Like my character's just gonna fall over and die.
It's like all of a sudden you're just walking through the grass and like, oh, your character is dead. Game over.
You white it out.
And then
This
you
returns you to the intro screen, and you have to start all over.
Are you a boy or a girl?
I'm a Muck.
Now you're a Muck. All the grass just starts to turn
So-
black as soot.
I don't think Grimer's that bad, is he?
I don't think so. It's smaller, I think. It doesn't look as mean. I just remember it having like this really blank look in its eye, like a zombie.
No, it has like his nice bright eyes.
Yeah. Maybe it has some inkling of understanding. Like it knows that it's bad. Oh my god. I think that's as good a place as any to
To
draw
end
this episode of Pokemon to a close.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, 20 years it's been, and you know, here's to 20 more years probably.
Here's the 20 more years of Pokemon, and also Pokemon's best website. I just want to give a shout out quickly to what may be, as the title implies, the best Pokemon website ever made.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's actually offline now.
Oh, is it really?
But if you can find a cached version on like the web archives and whatnot.
We'll post a link to YouTube.
Yeah, it's such like an anomaly to me because I still cannot figure out if it's meant to be a joke or not. I think those are always the best kinds of websites.
Yeah. Like you're sitting there questioning, it's like, is this for real?
Yeah, okay, think about the Space Jam website. You know about that, right?
Yeah.
And how it's still like preserved in 1996 form.
Yeah, I saw it.
Like they did that intentionally because, you know, people loved it and they wanted to keep it afloat. Whereas this one, I want to believe that this was made by a little kid, and they got like their older brother or their parents to make this website with things that they wanted. But there are certain things in there that I cannot stop laughing at because it makes me believe that someone did this with the intention of being like ridiculous, and it's
Right.
so good.
Like they know.
Or maybe I'm just laughing at a child.
Yeah.
It could be that.
In which case, damn, Joey.
I'm sorry.
You gotta be such a jerk for
But
man.
it's I want to believe. All right, Will.
All right, Joey.
You got anything else for us?
No, I mean,
No, you don't? Now I'm going to say goodbye to all our listeners.
Oh, well, I mean, I thought you meant like anything else about Pokemon in general, but no.
Oh, yeah, if you have any fleeting words you want to say about
Gotta
it.
catch them all. So many Pokemon to catch.
722.
I'm never gonna catch them all. That's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that.
At this point, it's not about catching them all.
No,
It's about releasing them all.
re-releasing them all. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Because we've gone up to Diamond and Pearl is next.
oh, is that the next re-release?
Yeah.
I was gonna say 20 years from now, maybe they'll release like the 20th anniversary version of like X and Y on like the Nintendo 7DS or something.
It's coming.
God, so many remakes.
All right. Well, let's take it back to our final round,
Take it back to the final round, Put
or
in the
take
final
it
round
to forward in time,
I was gonna say we're going back to the
going
final
back
round.
20 years.
Yeah. So, what are you gonna be doing, or what you have been doing?
I've been building a freaking bird cage
Oh
for
yes.
the last few hours.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's very big, and it's sitting right in the middle of your room there.
It's gonna be there for a while until I build the stand for it.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everybody what it's for? What you can
It's-
put in there? Human?
I'm gonna put. You can stay in there if you ever want to stay overnight.
Yeah.
Bird cage right there.
As long as you give me some.
But no,
newspaper.
me and my wife are actually going to be adopting, or we're hopefully adopting. Otherwise, we just wasted money on this bird cage. A pair of pigeons.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Pigeons.
Pigeons.
Like your favorite animal, right?
Yeah, pretty.
One of
they're
them?
up there.
Yeah. And I mean, considering, all right, we're from San Francisco and we see pigeons all the time. We're
Yeah.
not talking like these dirty, like street pigeons.
Covered in oil and grime and
Leprosy.
pecking at chicken wings and pizzas
Yeah.
and flattened loaves of bread.
Missing like one or two toes or more. Yeah, no, but like that, that's cool.
Yeah, these we're getting them from like a pigeon rescue center, in which they take in a lot of these pigeons that were either domesticated and then released and they can't survive in the wild.
Yeah.
Or ones that people have found hurt and they brought them in. They have a bunch of volunteers that help foster the birds until people like us come in and adopt them.
Yeah, it's good. That's
So
really
it's
awesome.
it's not exactly what you think of as a typical household pet, because I think a lot of people don't even realize that you can keep domesticated pigeons.
Yeah.
Most of the
exactly.
ones that you see out in the cities and out in downtown or whatever, those are domestic pigeons that have mated with like wild ones and feral ones. And so I think that's where like this huge like a huge portion of the population is these feral pigeons that are just wild and dirty and people hate for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's also like basically because they're not really like their population's not really kind of kept in check, and
Yeah,
like,
so
the
they're
breeding
just
is-
everywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to compare it to something, just imagine all the cats that are domesticated now. Mm-hmm. Imagine if there were like 100 times that many out on the streets as well.
Yeah, and there are places I think there are a lot of like places in I mean not in San Francisco but other cities probably.
No, it wasn't in Japan where they
yeah,
had
there's
an
like a whole
entire island.
Yeah, and
Oh,
like,
let's go there.
the cats probably I think outnumber the people on that place.
Yeah.
but
But yeah, and maybe in a few short weeks we'll have them in here
that'd
for
be cool.
their retroactive debut. They can just
Yeah.
flap around.
Yeah, we'll just have them come in here, and then it's like every you'll hear us talk, and then all of a sudden it'll be like. "Brr, grr." You think of names already for them?
I mean, we're probably going to keep the names that were given to them originally. So it's a Daisy and Indy.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. I'm really happy for you, actually. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool.
We're going to be pigeon parents.
Yeah, pigeon parents. You're gonna have a couple of burbs. I used to have a couple of birds like way back in the day. Well, they're parakeets, so they're a lot more like the traditional kind of bird that you would think
they're
of.
not the Pidgeys.
Yeah, But they were really cute actually. Like we had one boy and one girl, you know, and they were very kind of like lovey-dovey. They didn't like mate or like lay eggs, but I guess they were really good friends. They liked to cuddle.
Sure, he was just in the friend zone the whole time.
Pretty much. He didn't seem to mind.
Sadness.
But yeah, it was always cool. You know, we let them out of the cages occasionally, and they would like always like to perch up on our shoulders. You know, like me and my mom. And yeah, it was really cute. I actually liked having birds back in the day. They're really cool pets. Until they start freaking out and making a shit ton of noise. But
dude, pigeons are so chill.
Yeah.
Like they're not like parrots or these tropical birds that just go crazy when you bring them into another room with people.
Yeah, then they start squawking.
Yeah, they're just like flapping around, flying. Pigeons, you could do anything to them. They'll just be.
Oh, that's cool. I actually look forward to like, you know, seeing
you'll be
them and
seeing
everything.
a lot of them, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
I'd like to pet a pigeon. That would probably be really cool.
Pidgeot.
That's probably what I would name him. Pidgeotto.
Pidgeotto female, Pidgeotto male.
Yeah, exactly.
With the
Pidgeotto male, come over
sign.
here. Pidgeotto female, stop that. I was hoping you would kind of name it after, like, you know, one of the movies that we had watched back in the day, Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. Bobsled Man. Yeah.
So, Will, you got anything to tell us this week?
Yeah.
What your plans are? No? Okay, that's fine. Anyway, we're out of time here on
Yeah.
RetroActive.
That's fine. There's not a whole lot going on right now. I'm just going to be working like crazy because stuff at work is very hectic.
That's cool. That's Cool Runnings.
That's cool.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. We'll hopefully see you guys next week for
we
another
will.
episode. Yeah. Oh,
We will.
Well, I
Don't.
hope that you guys listen to us next week because we'll
Exactly.
still be here talking to nobody.
Yeah.
But if you want to come listen, we have, you know, we're on a bunch of things. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, on YouTube even. Yeah.
And for those of you that actually are listening to us right now, thank you for your continued support. Thank you for your patronage. We don't actually have Patreon, but, you know, patronage as in thanks for listening to us and listening to us talk, you know. We really appreciate it.
Oh, Jinx.
Oh,
Yes. We really appreciate it, Will.
That
Right?
was a genuine moment right there. That was genuine, man. I'm glad we got
Why
that
are you talking?
recorded on here.
Please.
I'll just give you a Coke later, okay? I already gave you some coffee, for
Okay,
God's sake.
that's fine.
All right. But yeah, thanks again. I'm Will.
I'm Joey.
This is RetroActive.
All right, see you guys.